Shalom and welcome to Yahudah Living. A Washington Post article written in November of 2018 states that 1 million Americans live full-time in RVs. This is referred to affectionately as modern nomads, the people who live like this. And this is according to the RV Industry Association, or the RVIA. Some families that live like this do it because they can't afford other options, but many do it by choice. In 2017, RVs saw record sales. There was a record for RV sales, and this is according to Statistical Surveys, a data firm. More than 10.5 million households own at least one RV, which was a jump from 2005, when 7.5 million households had RVs, again, according to the RVIA. The number of RV owning families is even more impressive when you consider that the United States Census says there are 128 million total households in America. So nearly 9% of that total are RV owners. And today, in this series, Life on Wheels on Yahudah Living, we are going to talk to such an RV owner. And we're going to chat about the benefits, the challenges, and uncover what it takes to live like this. Well, we will also discuss related topics in future episodes, such as how to flip RVs or renovate them, how to purchase one, and things like that. So today I'm pleased to welcome Jessica Ross, who again, she lives full-time in an RV. She's a believer in the Most High Yah, and her family has a life on wheels. Welcome, Jessica, to Yahudah Living.
Thank you for having me.
Well, would you mind just briefly introducing yourself to us? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Jessica, and I live with my husband, Rick, and our two daughters. Aria is 6 and Gwen is 4. And we live full-time in an RV, and we have since fall of 2020, where we decided we were at a crossroads, and it was either we had a blank slate because we had to find a whole new place to either rent or buy or throw around all the options. And that's one that we were kind of like always saying we wanted to do eventually. And we're like, well, why not just do it now? So we sold everything, got an RV. Luckily, my dad actually sold me his for $5,000, so it's paid off, and that's a big benefit. And we live as frugally as possible, work on the road, and yeah.
Wow. Well, that's really awesome. So 2020, so that's been about 3 years that you've been living full-time in the RV?
Yeah, 2 complete. Yeah, this is our 3rd winter going south for the winter.
Okay, so that was right in the middle of the pandemic too.
Oh yeah, that helped spurred our our decision making.
Got you. And I heard you say you travel south for the winter. Yep. And I'm assuming north for the summer. So
yep.
Does that give you, well, obviously, different weather conditions, but do you feel like a freedom in order to be able to, because if you live in a permanent house, you really can't do that unless you own another house in other places.
Yeah, it's wonderful. As soon as it starts, I don't like snow. My husband doesn't like snow. So as soon as it starts getting cold, we head down south. And then when it starts getting too hot, we head back up north. Although this last year and this year, we kind of planned it around Passover for, the gatherings and whatnot that we do and whatnot. So we usually head north for around that time.
Gotcha. And you said you purchased your RV from your dad, which that was a blessing. So educate me a little bit, because I recently learned that RV stands for recreational vehicle. and that there are two kinds of RVs. There's trailers, which are towed behind a car or a truck. And
Mhm.
then there's motorhomes, which the driver and everybody's in the same cabin together. So which type of RV do you own?
We have a motorhome where you actually drive the RV. However, we actually, since we have two kids that are still in car seats, I follow my husband. He drives the RV and I follow in the van because really no RVs are actually deemed like safe by the car seat association to
Mm,
actually have car seats. A lot of people do it, and it's not illegal, but it's not like the safest practice. So I just drive, follow behind him, and it helps him out too. Because even with the rear camera, those things are hard to drive. I mean, it's huge. I mean, picture picture that. Yeah, I mean, you've seen them on. You've seen them like it's almost just like a semi truck, not quite that big, but it's hard. It's hard to guide him. So I drive behind him and tell him we have walkie talkies. I'm like, all right, we can go. You can pass this person or whatnot. But yeah, so I drive behind him with the kids in the car seats, and then he drives the RV. But it is when you drive, and there are actually two kinds of tow behinds too. There's the fifth wheels, and there's travel trailers. The fifth wheels, you actually have to have like they have the overhang. If you see the ones that have the overhang, they actually hang over into the bed of the truck. They have
mhm,
those ones, and
mhm.
those are typically bigger because of the overhang. It's more stable, and so they can be bigger that way.
Okay.
The travel trailers are typically a little bit smaller, and then the fifth wheels are bigger.
Okay. Yeah. I think I have noticed that. And the smaller ones, I think, are known as campers. Is that
I mean, a lot of people call all RVs campers just because most people just only camp in them and then go
okay?
back to their regular houses. It's definitely not true camping. It'd be more like glamping.
Okay. Well, that's one of the questions coming up. Now, you mentioned something very interesting about the car seat because I was not aware of that. So, are you saying that the you cannot put a car seat in the chairs of the actual RV itself?
Well, maybe some of the newer ones, if they have like two sets of captain's chairs type things, like maybe that would work. I haven't seen a lot of the newer ones. But like ours, it only has a driver and a passenger in the front, and then it has like sidecar. There's the couch that folds out, and then there's the dinette, which is where there are seat belts there. But I mean, mine is a 99. It's older, and the seat belts are still the ones where you have to weave them through and tighten them. They don't have the spring tightening, and even so, I researched it a lot, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head of the website, but it's like the authority of car seats, and they don't recommend traveling with kids in the RV itself because of the thin walls, and if there's an accident, like everything just goes flying everywhere. I mean, just think you have a cabinet with knives and stuff in it, and dishes and stuff like that. I mean, I don't have a lot of glass stuff, but stuff just can, go flying. Cans go flying, So it's just, it's not recommended, although it isn't illegal, so you can do it. But it's just,
Okay.
it's just, not recommended by the. I would have thought ahead. I would have looked what it is, but most parents know. Most parents with young kids know. I can't think of it like what it is off the top of my head. But there's like this website that's like the end all be all of car seats, and
The official
they don't recommend.
authority. Got
Yeah.
you. Got you. Well, and I like how you also shared that you drive behind the RV in your own vehicle, and that has to have a lot of benefits because once you get to your location and you're staying there for a while, you can be mobile or get around
Yeah.
without having to take your RV. You have your other vehicle, so that sounds like a really great plan or setup.
Yeah, a lot of people do have a separate vehicle. You can tow it behind. They have these dollies that you could tow behind the RV to pull it with you, or they have I can't think what they're called off the top of my head, but they just hook you mount a bracket underneath the front of the vehicle that you're towing, and it pulls it on like a hitch almost, like an extended. I can't think of what it's called off the top of my head, but that's an option too. But then you're also still getting tread wear on the tires and stuff like that too. So I mean, obviously you're saving a little bit of gas, but you have to remember when you're pulling that much weight of a vehicle with the RV, that's going to take more gas mileage on the RV too. So it definitely does take more gas driving two vehicles, but it's so much more convenient because if we have to stop somewhere, even along the way, because even when we're traveling north to south and we make our stops, you don't have to unhitch it, and that could be, if you want to quick in and out of the place, it's a lot easier that way.
Wow. Well, so Jessica, is it hard to live in a trailer?
It can be at times. I'm not gonna lie and say it's a piece of cake all the time. I mean, especially with younger children on rainy days and at nighttime, they can get a little loud, but I mean, I'm used to it by now. My husband gets a little irritated sometimes still, but it's definitely has its ups and downs. But overall, I think the pros outweigh the cons. Another thing is, like, if I'm or anybody's doing anything in the kitchen, you have to really totally walk. The pathway is kind of narrow, so you have to totally walk out of the way, let them pass, and the hallways area is very narrow, so it's only one person, at least us, because we're both bigger people. So
you have many occasions to practice the fruit, like patience.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Kindness. And,
yes.
Yeah.
Very, very much patience practicing.
Yeah, because you don't really have the opportunity to retreat unless I guess somebody can go in the vehicle by themselves.
Yeah, or as you can see right now, I'm inside a house.
Oh, that's true.
Like where we're staying down here, we're staying with my husband's employer, behind their house on their property. They have the water and the electric hookup back there by their garage or / barn, and I can come in here and use their Wi-Fi.
Nice.
And have some quiet. So that's why I'm not in an RV at the moment.
Well, that leads me to a couple of other questions. Well, we already discussed. Well, so you said you got your RV from your dad for $5,000. Yep. What would, and you may or may not know this, but what's the average cost of the going RVs out there today?
Well, it's very drastic, especially if you want some new RVs cost as much as a house. Mm. Some of the newer models with all the bells and whistles. I do look on Craigslist every now and then, just to not for myself, but the people we're staying with, they have one travel trailer, but they want to get another one because they have businesses all over the state, and so they're looking to get another one. So I kind of peek around to see if I can find anything for them here and there. And you can find some lower cost ones. However, if it's low cost, there's usually a reason for it. And it's definitely going to be a fixer upper, like you were talking about flipping. Those would sometimes be good ones to flip. But I would say, I mean, it varies so much because it could depend on year too. Like mine's an older one, so that one, I think if I looked it up, it would be, I think for the one I have, if I was to buy it used, would probably be closer to $10,000. So I did get a good deal on that, especially seeing that it ran. I didn't really have to do much. We did some small renovations, to the bedroom, because it only had a queen bed, and we took the queen bed out and put 2 sets of bunk beds in for the 4 of us. Okay. So we have a very, very, in the olden days, where the husband and wife slept in their separate beds.
Leave it to Beaver.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. And doesn't your vehicle fit a bed too? When we were talking before, yeah. Yeah.
When I went to Passover last year, I camped in my van, in my minivan. It was just me. The girl stayed with my husband, so I just camped in my van, and he does it actually on the weekends too. He sleeps in the van when he's traveling for
Okay.
for work and whatnot.
Gotcha. And that was a queen size in the van, is that right? Or is it more like king
Not in the
size?
van, no.
Okay.
It's either like I had a twin when I had it in there, and then he uses a full. The full
Okay.
takes up the whole back of the minivan. The twin left a little bit of space for me to put stuff beside it.
So tell me a little bit about the inside of the trailer. You mentioned a kitchen. Is there a refrigerator, stove? How about a shower?
Yeah, it has all that in there. Like it's a very small shower. Small, like the tiny bathroom has the shower, the toilet, and the sink, like all in one tiny. And the floor space is like the size of a bath mat, like just big enough for a small bath mat to fit there. And then there's the kitchen. It has a small 3-burner stove. We have what they call an apartment size refrigerator, so it's definitely not a full size refrigerator. It has a freezer on top. And then the dinette for the kids to eat at. We usually don't eat there because it's kind of cramped. For us, but for them they fit just fine because they're little. And then the sink got two basin sink, little counter space about that big.
Awesome. It's amazing what can fit in such a small space. And what about the water? Because a shower and a kitchen sink, that would require water. So how does that work? Like you mentioned having a hookup where you are now.
Yeah, you can hook a hose. They call it trying to think what they call it. But there's a hookup just to hook a hose up to, and then the water just pulls the water from a hose, from like a well or whatever it's attached to. Or it does have tanks on there. Like ours has a 40-gallon clean water tank that you can fill up for like when you're going to be off grid for a while, like dry camping or primitive camping, they call it. You can fill up your water tanks and then just use that instead. And there's like an onboard water pump that pumps it out of the tanks to the sinks in the shower. 40 gallons, if you're using everything, you wouldn't last a super long time. But I mean, we actually don't usually shower in there. Like if we're staying somewhere or like we stay at campgrounds, we'll use their showers a lot of times. We will use it here and there when we have to. But I'm tall. You've seen me before. I'm almost 6 foot tall, so I have to go like and I'm in water. I'm afraid it's very small. It can get the job done, but we definitely prefer. Like here, we can use the shower in the house, so we definitely take advantage of that whenever possible.
Gotcha. So one's in there for emergencies or if there's
if you're
literally
a
nothing
very
else.
petite person, then you'd probably be just fine. Like I can't even, like I have to move around like this in there because I'm tall and a bigger girl. So
Well, I didn't even know you could hook up you said the water hose. That'd be kind of cold, right? For or does it warm up the water in the?
Oh, well, we have a hot water tank on there.
Okay.
It's only a 6-gallon though, so you have to take quick showers.
Army showers in and out.
Like I don't keep my hot water tank on all the time because it uses propane. Because you turn it on and just have to wait like not even 10 minutes, and the tank's all the way full. And then just or if you do dishes, just flip it on a little bit before you have to do dishes, just to save propane. Because that's another thing that you have to fill up and
Right.
save it if you can.
Wow. Well, I heard you also mention dry camping, and I recently learned that dry camping is camping without hookups, which makes perfect sense to me now that you're telling me the hookup is for the water in the case. So that's wet camping, I guess. So dry campings without hookups is also known as boondocking. where you
Boondocking.
buy
Oh, yeah.
everything
Or
in the
private
RV.
camping.
So my question is, well, I guess you already answered my question. Does your family practice boondocking, or are you generally at a campground area, but you're at neither right now?
No.
You're at
We're very flexible. We do it all. Yeah, when we're traveling up back and forth, there is a website that it's a subscription, and it has hosts that you can stay at, and you can boondock on their property. Although it's still called boondocking for some reason, even if you have hookups, because some of them will let you plug into water, electric there, or let you fill your tank up while you're there. And it's, the website's called Boondockers Welcome. You just sign up there. It's a year subscription, and then I think they just raised it to $79 a year. But you stay at two different people's place, and that's, a campground's at least expensive would be around 50, unless you're going to like a state park. Sometimes they can get down into like the high 30s, $40 range, but typically, depending on the area, you're looking at more like 50 to even higher, especially the campgrounds, the KOA campgrounds, since they're more like resort, like we have lots of stuff for the kids to do and whatnot. They're typically over $80 to stay there.
Gotcha.
The more stuff they have, or the more popular the area is, the more it's going to be for that fee.
So even though you own your RV outright, there's still an expense as to where you park it, depending on where you park it.
Depending on where you park it. When we're going up and down, we try to stay at as many boondocker places as possible. However, sometimes, because we usually drive about 4 to 5 hours a day, going up and down, and we look in that area, and if there isn't one close to the highway, we don't want to drive too far off the highway, because we've done that before, and we've gotten our RV stuck. We got stuck in Tennessee. It took us down because Google doesn't know what size vehicle you're driving. And they do have an RV GPS that you could pay for, but I'm very frugal. That's how I can afford to live in my RV all the time. But there are GPSs that are for RVs that you can put in like the height and everything, and it keeps that in consideration. But yeah, if it's not close to the highway, we'll just stay at a campground. Plus, we at least every other night try to stay at a campground, because my husband uses a breathing machine, and like we have battery packs, rechargeable battery packs, and we like to charge at least every other night just so it doesn't run out in the middle of the night.
Right. Yeah.
So we stay at a campground every other night, and we try to do state parks because they are the least expensive, and depending on how far off the road it is, or the main highway, like I said, we try to stick close to the highway just for ease of getting back and forth and back on the road.
Got you. Now with the state parks, is that do you have to call in advance, or do people just roll up and the hookups are there, and you make payment once you're there, or how does that typically work?
Well, most of them are online now. I think you can call. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know about the just rolling up though, how that would work. I'm not that on the seat of my pants. When we're going up and down, I always have a plan, because for that kind of thing, I always know where we're stopping the whole way down and what nights we're stopping there.
Got you. And it's not like every day you're doing this. It's only certain seasons of the year that you're actually traveling.
Yeah, some people do it all the time.
Climate
and that can get pretty expensive, I can imagine. You might as well be paying rent, I guess, if you're going to do it. But what we do, when we go up north, we stay at a friend's place up there, and we have the water and electric hook up there. And then when we go south, we usually, the last 2 years, not this year, but the last 2 years, we actually stayed at campgrounds and did what they call work camping, where you work 20 hours a week. It's different no matter where you go, but the ones that we stayed at was 20 hours a week in exchange for site, electric, everything. You don't have to pay anything. So
Wow.
that way you can still do, I mean, that's for both of us. Like the last year, we each did 10 hours a week. So I just did it early in the morning because it was in Texas, and all the way it was 5 miles from the border at the very farthest dip of Texas. And it was 100 when we got there in October. And I was like, why did we come this early? But
And,
so
and you said
I
that's
worked early in the morning so that while the kids were still sleeping. But yeah, so I worked 10 hours and he worked 10 hours. He did like grounds, like picking up, like nothing too laborious, but just grounds cleaning, weeding and things like that. And I was doing cleaning at that place. And the previous year I did all the working. I did 20 hours and it was in the office. So I was sitting there on my computer most of the time because I always did it in the evening and everybody was checked in. Most people were checked in by the time I got there. So I was basically there to answer questions and make reservations.
Wow.
So it was an easy job. That was an easy 20 hours.
So
that
that's like a bartering system.
Yeah.
And you said it's called work camping.
Yeah, work camping, and they spell it with a K for some reason. Like work.
Oh, okay.
Work camping.
Okay, got it.
Like all one word.
And is there like a website where people could find these opportunities, or?
There's not just one. There's quite a few. What I usually use though is I can't think what it's called, but if you want, I could give it to you to link. It's a Facebook group. That's really the only thing I ever go on Facebook for. Is when I need to find a place. There's a group that people post job opportunities. That's where I found the original, or that's where actually I found both of them. Or I'm sorry, the one in Georgia, I put an ad, just said that I was looking for work, and someone called me. And then last year I had an ad on a website. I can't remember what it was called off the top of my head though. I said I could look it up and give it to you, but I just put an ad on there, and luckily I got a response because as you know, right at the that was the winter of 2021 is right when they were pushing all the stuff that I wasn't into, and I was worried about finding something, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Yes. And luckily, I put an ad out and they contacted, and we got that place in Texas, which I loved it down there. It was so beautiful.
So immunizations.
Yeah.
All right. I have another question for you. Do you have any experience with hip camps or glamping?
I have visited the Hip Camp website when I was trying to find things around a certain area. I've never actually used it, but I have searched the website, and it's actually not as inexpensive as you would think, especially if you want a place that has hookups or something like that. And as far as glamping, that's kind of a word they use some people use it, like I said, for RVing, because it's not really camping because you have all your conveniences with you. But they have like on the Hip Camp, they do have glamping as an option where you want to stay in a tent, but you want all the air conditioning and stuff like that. They do have those
tinting, yeah.
Yes. So not roughing it. You don't want to rough it. You have a real bed, and a lot of it's set up in yurts. They're round, kind of round buildings or round tents, or a more permanent tent. I've seen pictures of them. I've never been in one of those.
So I'm familiar with glamping because it was featured on a show I saw once. Glamour camping, like you're saying, you're camping but not roughing it. You have all your creature comforts. But remind me what Hip Camps is.
Hip Camp's a website. It's just a website, kind of like that Boondockers website I was telling you about, only everybody charges. And like I said, it's kind of more on the expensive side. And you don't have to have a membership for that one, but I don't think that you do anyways. I've never actually went through to make a reservation on that one, but it charges, every place charges, and it's a bit, almost as much as a campground. So unless you really want to stay at some of the areas are on there do look pretty cool, like on farms and stuff like that. But a lot of the boondoggers welcomes on farms too. Like we stayed at a horse farm the one time. The kids love that. So
Yeah.
there's all kinds of farms because that's a good place to offer it because they have all that room.
Do you ever worry, or are there ever any safety concerns when you're kind of going to hook up on someone's land that you've never met before? Is there anything that ever makes you feel uncomfortable or that you're concerned about?
I've never felt uncomfortable. And then again, I always, have my husband is always with me, and he's usually the one that does that. So I've never felt uncomfortable with it. But I mean, there are a lot of solo women that do it, and you just have to trust your instinct. And if a place doesn't look safe, just don't stay there. Go, even if you had plans to stay there, if you feel that it's not safe for any reason at all, just trust your instinct and get out of there. But I've never encountered that. We've had very good luck with the places that we've chosen.
And you mentioned Hip Camps is a website, and I know about Airbnb.com. Are there any other websites that you make use of that maybe you could share for people interested in, getting the resources they need for their life on wheels?
Yeah. Well, there's another one that they just kind of joined forces with Boondockers Welcome, but it's still separate. It's called Harvest Hosts, which it's a lot of like businesses and wineries and places like that offer sites. So most of those are no hookups, but that would expand your amount to choose from. I mean, it always pops up the ad when I go on the Boondockers website, upgrade to the Harvest Hosts. But I've never had that much trouble finding. But I think it adds a couple thousand sites to pick from in the country. So if you're going to be doing a lot of traveling, that probably wouldn't be a bad idea because the upgraded fee, I don't even know what it is. I want to say it's $100 more a year. But I mean, if you're doing this all the time and you're going to stay there even like 3 times, it'd pay for itself if you're going to stay at one of their places 3 times. So if you're going to be traveling a lot, that could definitely, and some of them, those ones are usually, I believe, overnight only, where the Boondockers Welcome, depending on the location, you could stay anywhere from 2 to 5 days, or some of them are only overnight, but most of them are 2 to 5 days. They let you stay there. So,
Right.
And there are other, I'm trying to remember what they are off the top of my head. I think Travel America. It's a subscription service. It's a bit more pricey, and you get like so many stays. They have different parks that are part of their network, and you either get really discounted, or you get so many like free stays a year. But I mean, again, that's one if you're traveling a lot, you might want to look into. But it all depends on how much you're traveling, and once you get into deciding to do this and looking up, you can look at the different, I mean, there's so many resources available now. One I actually found very helpful on YouTube, it's called Cheap RV Living, just like one word. And it tells a lot. It actually isn't just RV. It has people that like live out of their vans and their cars even, and that, are, a lot of them are due to circumstances, like they get evicted or something like that. And it's just, interesting to see how people live and, live like that. It's like, well, it makes the RV, staying in the RV seem like a luxurious experience, So, but you learn a lot from on there, and he reviews a lot of the products that people use for camping and stuff like that, and RVs, because there are some RVs on there too. But that was one of the ones that really got me inspired. I'm like, wow, like if it was just me, I would live in my car all the time, or live in a van all the time. But
Well, a lot of people are flipping vans, milk trucks, and creating these tiny homes. I saw one yesterday where a woman turned a shed into her house, and her husband literally live in a shed. Now, it's not mobile like the trailer, but it's definitely downsizing into a smaller space for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, so, and this seems to be picking up more and more tiny houses, more and more uh, trailer living. So let's see. I think I only have a couple other questions for you. Let's see. The app for, oh yeah, you already talked about phone apps and websites. All right, so just one more question. Do you do any type of gardening or canning or other homestead type practices in your trailer, either when you're hunkered down in the same spot for a while, or do you do anything when you're on the go?
Well, I actually just planted some herbs and some lettuce and chard a couple days ago. But that's really the only planting I've done. I did have an aloe plant that was traveling with me for the first year, but I actually gave it to somebody at the campground when I was in Georgia 2 years ago. Or actually, I guess I didn't have it that long. I gave it to him at the end before I left because, it kind of grew like sideways out of the pot. And I'm like, that thing's gonna be falling over constantly. I don't feel like cleaning up dirt. And there was this lady there that really loved plants, so I'm like, "Hey, you want an aloe?" She's like, "Yeah." But other than that, um, that is my first venture into it. Although I also got stuff to do, like hydroponic gardening, that I'm going to try doing because I figured that would be easier to transport too, because you can just empty the water out and then put it back in. So we'll see how that goes. That's going to be an experiment that I'm going to try when we go up north this year. I'm gonna try that. So. So if we have a part two next year, I'll let you know how that's progressing.
Yeah, that sounds interesting, because
And no canning. Not yet. I don't have a canner. Not that I wouldn't do that. I do make my own like products and stuff like that, but I don't have any canning. I have a lot of mason jars because I like to drink out of them, but and I like to store stuff in them, but I don't. No, I don't have any canning yet, unfortunately, because that's definitely a good thing to do. Maybe I'll look into that.
yeah, good food storage. What about, although I guess you wouldn't have a whole lot of room on a camper to store
Yeah.
the, but maybe there was like a stationary place you could keep something like that. Do you have storage anywhere?
I mean, we have like under the dinettes. I could probably put some canned goods under there, just have to try to keep them from banging around when we drive and stuff like that. I have to put some kind of maybe find like some kind of cardboard, dividers or something. I could probably make it work.
But your family doesn't own any like storage units or anything outside of your trailer?
No, my husband has some stuff stored at his parents' house in their basement.
Okay.
I do not actually. I put my Sukkot stuff there before I came down here. I bought like a tent heater and a tent and an air mattress that I left there. But
Okay.
usually I don't have anything because when I downsized, I got rid of everything. He's more the sentimental type and had totes of stuff that he's had since high school that he doesn't want to get rid of. Me, I'm like, get rid of
Okay.
it. But opposites attract. Luckily, we're not both like that because we'd have a lot of stuff to store then.
Yeah, you would have to considerably downsize due to, the smaller space for
Yeah.
sure. Uh, yeah, and so no pets, chickens, honeybees,
Well,
anything.
we did try a chicken, but it's a free range chicken now because we got out and we were gonna get it back in.
It's ranging somewhere in America. Okay, funny. And I think you have some cats now, but they're part of the property where you're at. Okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
they're part of the house.
Part of the house. All right. Well, this was excellent. I think this was informative, and hopefully this gets some people thinking about life on wheels. It definitely is an option. It, in many cases, can be a more frugal, affordable option. And particularly if you find a good place to park your said trailer, it definitely sounds like a optional lifestyle to consider. So I want to thank you for agreeing to be interviewed and just sharing your information and knowledge. And we look forward to interviewing some other families who have this type of lifestyle. Is there anything else you would like to say that I didn't ask you?
Well, one thing, like I just told one of our sisters the other day, is it's something to consider if you're if you're traveling to a new area and like say, like I want to travel to another state, I don't know the area and I need to get a house. Instead of just rushing into buying a house, you could always get the RV and stay there even temporarily, because the resale on RVs is pretty good right now, because a lot of people, as you said that statistic, and more people keep getting them because of, just for vacation, it's, or other reasons. And you could always get it and stay in it for a little while, maybe do some small renovations and turn around, especially if the area you're going to is a higher cost of living. You might even be able to, make a little bit more money than what you bought it for. But even so, I mean, that would be a temporary option. Stay at a campgrounds. If they do have monthly rates that are far less than that adding up the daily rate. You save a lot of money if you stay for a whole month. And,
Okay.
and so that's always an option too. Like if you're moving to a new area or you're just in between, it's just something to think about as one of the options, instead of just jumping right into another rental that you're end up not being happy with or something like that.
That's true. So, because one of the biggest things when moving is you're trying to find a place to stay. And so, with this method, like you're saying, it can get you to that area and you kind of get your bearings and see what's available. So, that is a great idea to use a RV for that. And I guess renting an RV is an option. I'm reminded my own family, we rented one to head down to a particular feast meetup years ago, and that was a great experience. You could rent them, and we're interested in eventually owning. I don't know which kind, the hangover kind, or the trailer or the motorhome, but definitely we're interested in the RV for those reasons you said, to go someplace and not have to worry about finding where to sleep. You kind of have that.
Cook your own meals. You'll have your own fridge and stove, so you don't have to worry about eating out. Make your own meals while you're out
Yes,
running.
and if there was an emergency, we could get out of town and have our food and place to stay with us. And so that's something else to consider as well, because these times are unpredictable. You never know
Definitely.
when that scenario might come in handy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. Is there anything else you would like to share with our listeners about life on wheels?
Not that I can think of. I mean, I definitely am not the expert of the income on the road. But really, especially if you have a job that does remote. I mean, after the, everything that went on, a lot of people are working from home now than before. So why not just work somewhere, work anywhere? In our situation, we have a very, very low, we don't have a lot of bills, because all of our stuff, our van and everything is paid off. So we can, just kind of go with the flow a little bit as far as seasonal work. We usually get seasonal jobs, or if we're at the campground, just, do extra hours and stuff like that. So we're very fortunate to have a low overhead. So as long as we live very frugally, and that works for us. Although some people that might not work for that, but especially, like I said, if you have a job that lets you work remotely anyways, you could do that as long as you have a strong Wi-Fi or a good hotspot.
I was just about to ask about the Wi-Fi. Yeah, because that would be a pretty important component if you were, doing the work remotely. Yeah. And does that
Yeah,
vary, I guess, from campground to state
it
park to,
does. Yeah, some of them have very spotty Wi-Fi. We have a Wi-Fi booster that works pretty good. As long as you have at least one bar, it amplifies it, and as long as you're not trying to do too much stuff. Like where we're staying at now, when it's working, but it kind of cuts in and out. So, like if you're on Zoom and it just kind of flickers on and off, then you get disconnected and have to get back on. So it depends on what you're doing, but most places it's not an issue. And if you have a hotspot, like we have a hotspot, my husband has one on his phone that we could always hook to if we need to. Verizon, so that Verizon seems to be, because he has Verizon and I have AT&T, and the Verizon definitely works better in more places than, at least in the places we've been, than the AT&T, which here is like basically non-existent. I have to have Wi-Fi for my phone to work, unless I'm out driving around, like, but where we're at right now, because we're kind of in a more farm area, so.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I have that experience with T-Mobile, so I don't know if it's a carrier thing or a location thing.
There is a newer thing called Starlink that they just started doing available for RVs, that I see a lot of people on YouTube use that. I have no experience with it, but if you're needing a steady, it's definitely more expensive. But if that's very important for you to have, like for work, if you're working remotely, that would be something to look into too, because it's pretty dependable as long as you have a clear area. Like if there's a lot of trees, you might have to put it on top, or because it has to have a clear signal for that one. But it seems to be getting pretty good reviews. So, but like I said, I don't have any personal experience with it, but like people I've followed have been using it, and so that's something to look into also. If you're going to be looking into this lifestyle and you need a steady signal, that might be something to look into too.
Gotcha. And that was Starlight Wi-Fi?
Starlink.
Starlink.
Like I think it's like an Elon Musk type thing. But we don't. Yeah, we don't have that. But we don't have like a dire need, except for like our services and stuff. But luckily, the Verizon's always been dependable enough, so I just use my tablet. So because I have a Verizon data on my tablet.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for stopping by to let us just chat with you about your life on wheels. This has been very informative and resourceful, and I hope it's helpful to someone out there considering this full-time, part-time, or just getting an extra mobile home to have. That could even be emergency living for somebody that was needing, a family member that needed to stop by and needed a place to stay.
Yeah. Might have to keep it on the download, depending on where you're at, because a lot of places, especially in the cities, if they know somebody's staying in the RV in the city, they don't like that.
Oh, right. Yeah, because it would have to be zoned and regulated. Yeah, you're right about that.
So hopefully you have a lot of trees in your backyard if you're going to try it.
Yeah, a lot.
If you live in the city. If you live in the country, you can do whatever you want.
A lot to consider for sure.
And I was gonna say, if anybody has any questions, they can always put it in the comments, and I'll one of us will. I'll keep an eye out on it.
All right. Well, that's an excellent thing to offer. So if you have any questions about life on wheels, trailers, RVs, put it in the comment section, and Jessica will keep an eye out. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
We look forward to chatting with a couple other families that are living this way, and even the different things within this industry that might be of interest to those that are considering, other ways of living than the traditional, you have an apartment or a house type situation. So with all that said, much shalom. Thank you for watching and have a blessed day. Shalom.
If you enjoyed this conversation, you can listen to it again, along with the selection of set-apart music and Torah readings on our radio station, All Praises Radio, at allpraisesradio.com. It's a radio station that plays set-apart music all day long. That's All Praises Radio at allpraisesradio.com. Be sure to subscribe to our channel to be notified when new interviews are released. And guess what? On our website at YahudahLiving.com, we have a growing directory of artists and other resources within Yasharel. It's community-driven, which means you can add resources to this directory for others. And a heartfelt thank you to you, our Yahudah family, for your support and enthusiasm. If you liked this episode, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Your support helps us bring more uplifting content to our community. And last, but certainly not least, all praise to the Most High Yahuah Sabaoth, perpetually. Shalom.